Hello everyone, I'm here today to talk about some players that are in their make or break season, or as I like to call it, their prove it year. Some players are in their third season looking to break out, some are playing for new teams looking to prove everyone wrong, and some are just looking to prove that they should stay on their current team. So let's go ahead and get into the video and talk about these players. Ed Oliver was one of the most dominant players in college football during his time in Houston. When Buffalo selected him with the 9th overall pick in 2019, there was a lot of expectations for him, but so far he hasn't lived up to the hype. He hasn't been bad considering he's had 8 sacks in 2 years, which isn't terrible for defensive tackle, but he still hasn't been as good as most people thought he would be. This is the year for Ed Oliver to break out and finally live up to his potential, and I honestly think this will be his best season, and I hope he breaks out this year. Just like Ed Oliver, Hollywood Brown was selected in the first round in 2019, and the Ravens had high hopes of him being their wide receiver one of the future. While he does have 15 touchdowns in his 2-year career so far, he also has 8 career drops, 6 of them being from his most recent season in 2020. He hasn't been a very consistent target for Lamar Jackson. However, in his last 6 games of the regular season in 2020, he caught 6 touchdowns, so maybe things are finally looking good for Brown. I'm not sure how many targets he'll get this year though, considering the Ravens did sign Sammy Watkins and drafted Rashad Bateman, but this is his year to prove that he can still be the wide receiver one the Ravens were hoping to get, or at least be a valuable weapon for Lamar. During his time with the Giants, Odell Beckham was one of the best receivers in the NFL. When he got traded to the Browns in 2019, a lot of people thought he would make the Browns a lot better and be a great target for Baker Mayfield, but that hasn't exactly been the case. 2019 was not an amazing year for Odell. He did have a 1,000-yard season, but only had 4 touchdowns, 7 drops, and 7 interceptions whenever the ball was thrown at him, and had a passer rating of 69 when targeted. That's not nice. I don't think all the bad stuff that happened was all on him, but he still wasn't great. Things weren't great in his first 6 games in 2020, but it was a better start than last year, but then he tore his ACL and missed the rest of the season. Now Odell's in his 3rd year with the Browns. They just made the playoffs, and Baker has improved, and the Browns are poised to have a great season, so if he doesn't play very well in 2021, I wouldn't be very surprised if he was traded in the offseason. JuJu Smith-Schuster has had an interesting career so far. In his first 2 seasons, he and Antonio Brown were one of the best receiving duos in the NFL. Then he had a disappointing 2019 season, but bounced back in 2020. Even though he has established himself as a pretty reliable receiver, this is the year for him to prove he's worthy of getting a big contract. During the offseason, he had explored free agency and had multiple 1-year offers from different teams like the Ravens and Chiefs, but chose to sign with the Steelers. This is his last chance to show he's worth more than he was offered and maybe get a bigger contract next offseason, regardless of what team he plays for. Carson Wentz has had quite the career so far. He had an MVP-like 2017 season, then he tore his ACL late in that season, didn't play in the playoffs. Then he had a mad 2018 season, got injured late in the season again, and didn't play in the playoffs again. Then he had an okay 2019 season, then was able to finally play in the playoffs, then he got injured again. Then he had a very bad 2020 season and was eventually benched in favor of Jalen Hurts. After many underwhelming seasons with the Eagles decided to trade him to the Colts. This is the perfect opportunity for Carson Wentz to prove everyone he's still a great quarterback. There were many excuses people had for him, like bad receivers, bad offensive linemen, and didn't have the best coaching. Now he's reunited with his former offensive coordinator and current Colts head coach, Frank Reich. Wentz had his best season under Reich when he was his offensive coordinator in 2017. Wentz also has some good targets. I wouldn't say they're a huge upgrade over the Eagles receiving core, but he does have Michael Pittman, who I think is going to break out this year, Zach Pascal, who isn't a fantastic receiver, but I think he's still a solid target. He's got one of the most underrated tight ends in the NFL in Jack Doyle. He also has one of the best offensive linemen to protect him. So really, Wentz doesn't have any excuse anymore to play bad. So this is the year for him to prove everyone that the Eagles made a mistake. The Raiders stunned a lot of people in 2019 when they selected Clelin Ferrell with the 4th overall pick. So far in his career, he hasn't lived up to those expectations. He's had only 6.5 sacks in his 2-year career, but he did get to the quarterback more in 2020 with 21 pressures, but he's still not 4th overall pick good. So this is the year for him to prove he's not only a great player, but also proves he's worth the 4th overall pick. After starting 5 games in 2019, there was hype surrounding True Lock. Many thought he would be a pretty good quarterback for the Broncos in 2020, but that hype turned out to be BS. He threw for 16 touchdowns and a league-leading 15 interceptions. During the offseason, there were many rumors that the Broncos were looking to trade Lock and trade for other quarterbacks like Deshaun Watson and Aaron Rodgers. So far that hasn't happened, but they did trade for Teddy Bridgewater. They most likely did it to give True Lock some competition to help improve him, so this is True Lock's last chance to prove to everyone that he's the franchise quarterback, or else he might no longer be a Bronco. The Giants surprised everyone in 2019 when they picked Daniel Jones over Dwayne Haskins with the 6th overall pick. He has proven to be a better pick than Haskins, but he still hasn't been that great. In his rookie season, he threw for 24 touchdowns and 12 interceptions, showing he wasn't as bad as people thought he would be, but then he regressed in 2020, throwing for 11 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. The biggest excuse Jones has had is he doesn't have great weapons or a great offensive lineman, so the Giants decided to give him more weapons by signing Kenny Golladay, Kyle Rudolph, and drafted Kadarius Toney. The Giants also have Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, and Saquon Barkley returning. While his offensive line still isn't that great, he still shouldn't have any excuse to not perform well this year. So this is the year for him to prove that he's not only a franchise quarterback, but worth the 6th overall pick. Jalen Hurts is the only guy in this video that will be entering his 2nd season in the NFL. He's a make or break guy because I'm not sure if he'll be a starting quarterback in 2022. He did take over Carson Wentz in 2020, but wasn't that great, but he will most likely be their starting quarterback unless Flacco somehow beats him out. If the Eagles play just as bad as last season and Hurts doesn't show any progression, I wouldn't be surprised if they drafted a quarterback in the 1st round in 2022. So really, this is his only chance to show he's a franchise quarterback. Jameis has had a very interesting career in the NFL so far. He was the 1st overall pick in 2015 and won Rookie of the Year. He looked good in 2016, but then regressed in 2017. He got suspended for the first 3 games in 2018, and he and Ryan Fitzpatrick kept on trading places for the starting quarterback job. Then in 2019, he led the league in passing yards with 5,109 yards. He had 33 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. He got cut by the Bucs in 2020 and signed with the Saints as a backup and re-signed with the Saints in 2021 to compete for the starting job of Taysom Hill. This is his best opportunity to prove he's a franchise quarterback. He has Sean Payton as his head coach, a top 5 receiver in Michael Thomas, a top 5 running back in Alvin Kamara, who is also a pretty good weapon, and a top 5 offensive lineman. So really, if he has a bad season, he'll have no more excuses. The Saints surprised a lot of people in 2018 when they traded up to draft Marquise Davenport. He hasn't been bad, but he hasn't been great either. He had a solid first 2 seasons, but then he got outshined by Trey Hendrickson in 2020 and only started 1 game. He's also missed 9 games in his career, including the postseason game against the Vikings in 2019. Despite all of that, the Saints still picked up his 5th-year option, but they also drafted another defensive end named Payne Turner. I still don't know why they drafted him and how they're going to use him or who's going to be replaced, but this is Davenport's last chance to prove he's still a great player for the Saints, and if he has another underwhelming season for them, he might not start any games in 2022. Sam Darnold had a lot of hype coming out of USC. In fact, there was a Jets jersey with his name on it before he even left USC. He was drafted 3rd overall by the Jets in 2018 and had a solid rookie season, but then he regressed badly in his 2nd season and his 1st season with Adam Gase, so there might be a coincidence there. And things didn't get any better for him in 2020, so the Jets decided to move on from him and traded him to the Panthers and drafted his replacement in Zach Wilson. Darnold also has some good weapons around him like Robbie Anderson, his former teammate, DJ Moore, Terrace Marshall, and Christian McCaffrey, who's not only a very good running back, but he's also a pretty good receiving running back. So this is his best and last chance to prove he's not a bust. I hope everyone I mentioned in this video breaks out this season and proves everyone wrong. I am rooting for everyone, except for Sam Darnold, just because I'm a Saints fan, but honestly, I do hope he does better, because I do feel bad for him, and really, that's all I gotta say. I'll see y'all later, and I hope y'all have a great day.